So I thought it was interesting that RT paid the farmers with orchards and places to, if he could bring his hives and put them in where the orchard was to pollinate the fruit. Now it's just the opposite. Orchards pay beekeepers to bring their hives there. The almond orchards pay the beekeepers to bring their bees there. He bought a colony of bees for $8. Last year, a colony of bees was $180. That's how much they've gone up in price. This is a typical beehive. I'm sure RT, one thing I've learned about beekeeping is it's hard work. I like to do it as a hobby, but I wouldn't want to do it for a living. And I'm sure he had a sore back, because when these are full of honey, they're very heavy. This is a small box, and these are the large frames. But when this is full of honey, it weighs over 100 pounds. These are probably about 75 pounds, so it's a lot of weight to lift. This is a typical setup of a hive. They have an entrance right here, and then usually most hives that you see this time of year just have 2 boxes. These 2 boxes are for the bees. We don't take any honey from them. That's where the queen is and the brood is. And then this is the top with another entrance where bees can go in and out, but the queen never comes out of the hive. Take this box off. On the top of the second frame, there's a screen, and this is called a queen excluder. So the queen can't come up through here and lay eggs. So every box above the first 2 is where the bees store the honey. And last year we had probably 3 hives that had 3 boxes full of honey on top of them. But that's the only part that we take from them. We leave any honey that they store in here, which this time of the year they're full of honey, but we leave that for the bees to eat and make it through the year. I have a few. My wife printed these off from the internet. I'll pass these around. There's three types of bees. There's the queen bee, the worker bee, and the drone bee. And on the page with the bee facts, the drone bee is the male bee. And when a new queen is formed, it needs to have 1 male bee to fertilize the queen, and then she stays in the hive the rest of her life. But this time of year, in the fall, all the male bees get kicked out of the hive. They starve to death or freeze. It's kind of a dysfunctional family. The queen bee's in charge, but the female bees do all the work. They clean the hive. They feed the queen. They go out and gather the pollen and the nectar. They make the honey. They go out and bring water into the hive they actually use water to make the honey into different thicknesses. When the honey is just right, then they cap so this is a bee frame, and you can see how they built the wax out. But when the honey is just right and just the right consistency, they'll cap it with wax. And in the fall, when we take it off, we have an electric knife. RT invented a steam knife, and now they have knives that are electric. You just plug in, and they get really hot, and they just uncap everything. And then we put it in a centrifuge. This is a hand centrifuge it holds 4 frames, and you just crank it, and the honey spins out of the frame onto the wall of the centrifuge, and it has a gate valve that we open. And then we run the honey 2 times through these filters, and then put it into jars. So we try not to heat it up, because that can destroy the good vitamins and minerals and enzymes in the honey. So we just filter it 2 times and then put it into jars. It's kind of for us, it's kind of our family tradition. The grandkids come over and they love doing the honey harvest and filling up the honey bottles. The sheet that is passed out on all the bee facts, that's really interesting. Every bit of that is an interesting fact about a bees. The worker bee, their life's work, like a worker bee that goes out and collects nectar and makes honey, its life work is 1 teaspoon of honey. That's pretty interesting. But in a hive, in a healthy hive, when it's about, if this had 3 more boxes on, there's probably about 100,000 bees in that hive. The queen bee lays anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500 eggs a day. She lays more eggs than her body weight. It's pretty amazing. But that's in the springtime. They can tell when spring's coming, and the queen will start to lay more eggs, and there'll be lots of bees to go out and collect nectar and pollen. This is a bee smoker. You take this jar off, and they make pellets that you just light it on fire and smoke the bees. It's kind of a fire hazard when you're in the summertime when you're working on your bees. I don't particularly like doing smoke. They make this other stuff now. It's called Bee Gone. It's just a spray. It's made with essential oils. I think it smells good, but the bees hate it and they run from it. And why do you smoke a hive? The reason to do that is when you open up a hive, their natural instinct is to attack and sting and drive whatever's attacking the hive away. And when a bee stings, it is going to go die when it loses its stinger. So if you can calm the bees down with smoke or this Bee Gone stuff, it makes it so they don't attack you, they don't sting you, they don't lose their stinger, they don't die, and you don't get stung. This is a bee suit that I have. I just use the jacket type. They make full body ones, but I can't count how many times I've forgotten to do that zipper up and they get up in my elbow. I'm beating myself to death trying to get them before they get me, and I get stung all over the place. But they can sting through Levi's. These are the gloves I wear. And they get really excited in the fall when you take their honey. So you have to either smoke them or use that stuff because they get really mad when you take their honey. In the springtime, when you open them up, you can usually go in there and they won't bother you. When you put a new hive into a box, you could do it without a bee suit. They just want to be left alone and get in there. So I think that's about it. The new bee frames they make them with a wax foundation or a plastic foundation. The old frames they used to use with wire, and then the bees would build the wax on there. It's a fun hobby. I learned how to do it. The Ogden, Utah Steak, back in 30 years ago, that was their welfare project up in Ogden Valley, and they asked for volunteers to come help do the beekeeping, and that's where I learned, and I've been doing it as a hobby ever since. So.
How can somebody learn how to do that
Now
now?
it's so easy now. The internet you can take classes and courses online. You can get all your supplies online. They ship them right to your doorstep. But there's a place in Orem that actually does classes where you can go down and go out with beekeepers. But I've seen courses online that go through everything. And it's really interesting. The biggest thing we face as a problem as beekeepers is mites, varroa mites. They get in the hive and they eat the larvae while they're still in the frame. So we always treat for those, and just the pesticides. I'm a firm believer that pesticides and mosquito abatement. I've had hives out in Plain City, and it was a disaster. The best place to get honey is Pleasant View, North Ogden, in my opinion. There's a lot more flowers up here, and it's just the best place to get it.
Can you harvest all year round, or is it mostly spring and fall?
You can. You could harvest during the summer. We usually harvest right around Labor Day. We try to get it while it's still at least 90 degrees outside. Once it drops into the 60s and 70s at night, the honey starts to harden up, and it won't flow out of the frames very well. So I've had some years where we pulled it off and it was still cool, so we had to take it indoors and get it warm again so that it would come out of the frames when we put it in the centrifuge. So it's mostly just in the summertime.
One more question. How do they not die from freezing in the winter?
They get into a big mass in the hive, and they move around inside here and they eat the honey. But if you open up a beehive in the wintertime, you can just feel the heat coming off that mass of bees. They're actually quite warm. One of the problems is they also generate humidity, so they can get if the hive's not ventilated, or a place for the air to escape, they can get mold and mildew growing because of all the humidity. But they generate heat.
What did they do last winter?
Last winter was bad. Because it went on and on. We lost all our bees last winter, but this spring I started 13 new hives, and this year was the best year I've seen in 10 years. With the cool June and the rain and all the flowers, it was phenomenal this year. But all through the drought and the I think 2 or 3 years ago we had the 100-degree temperatures for days on end, and that was a rough year too.
What do you do with the wax, Howard?
I usually just save it and I give it to some people that like to make candles out of it and lip balm, and they make all kinds of stuff. But I've never gotten into that. I just save it and give it to them.
What about a bumblebee? I don't see that on the chart.
It's a different kind of a subspecies or a different species. They don't really. I don't know if they make hives and have nests like honeybees do, but I don't even know where they live. I need to research.
They aren't in the hive.
No, they're not in the hive. They're
Bumblebees will make their nests in cavities in your walls, your exterior of your house, or in the ground.
yeah.
And it looks, go look one up online. They're kind of scary looking,
Yeah.
but the nests are. But
And yellow jackets and hornets. I just hate those.
these are the big ones.
The big bumblebees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big ones, but like kind of like the hornets, but like
Yeah.
Are bees a scarcity? Like, are there still plenty of them?
There's still plenty of them because the beekeepers are doing a really good job at regenerating. There's been huge losses in honeybees because Utah State's done all kinds of research projects on colony collapse disorder. Like I was up to 49 hives about 10 years ago, and within 2 years they were all dead. So and no one knows what happens. You'll just walk up to the.
did they die?
You just walk up to the hive and open it up, and there's no bees in it. There's no dead bodies.
Was it the mice, or what was it?
No. Like on the colony collapse disorder, they don't know what's going on. But they're just gone. It's aliens, I guess. But it's a fun.
When they form, when a hive forms, what percentage of the hive leave?
I've had hives that I've opened up and there's probably 13 new queen cells. I usually go in June and I'll smash the queen cells if the queen is still healthy. I'll just smash them so it doesn't swarm. But that's a sign that the hive's crowded. You need to add more boxes or split the hive. But the queens, I had one swarm, and I actually saw it leave. It was probably 1/3 of the hive, and then about 2 weeks later, another one swarmed out of it, and I saw it in a tree over just on the neighbors. But I had one swarm 4 times, but then there was still enough in there that it still produced. But you don't want, if you can catch a swarm, that's another hive you got started for free, but you don't want them to swarm. If you can catch it, or if you can split the hive.
A lot of honey when they form.
Yeah, because the bees will go in and fill their belly with honey and take off.
Yeah, they work themselves, and then they take it to the queen the way they go.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, you don't want to lose a swarm.
You ever make an attempt to capture the swarm and bring it back?
Yeah, I usually have one hive that I leave empty, and they actually have some bait that you can leave in that hive that attracts the swarm. So if by chance a hive does swarm, you've got an empty place. They're out looking for a place to build a new hive. So if you can have an empty hive with some bait in it, that usually gets them.
How do you guys process bee pollen? I use bee pollen tablets.
When I had a lot of hives going, they make a little device you can put on the entrance to the hive, and as the bees go in, it knocks the pollen off their legs. And a lot of people like to eat the bee pollen for allergies and stuff. And I have a couple of those, but the past 10 years, I've just been trying to get them through the winter. If I'm lucky enough to get a few through the winter, then it's all about trying to get them to produce enough honey for that year. So I haven't put the pollen traps on for quite a while.
What's your best flowers for your bees?
It's a variety of just because there's different flowers through different times of the summer. The honey this year is like quite a bit darker than normal, but I've been told that the darker honey is more flavorful. The real light honey is usually a clover honey, but in a neighborhood like this where there's so many different trees and flowers and stuff growing, it's coming from everywhere.
Because we had like that Russian sage, and the bees just.
Yeah, they love that. Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's a good plant to have in your yard for bees. And some people, the way they plant their yards, it's totally bee friendly with all the flowers and stuff, and the mix is good too. They say it's healthy for bees to get a lot of different, go to a lot of different types of flowers because they need different vitamins and minerals from other different flowers.
But do you sell your honey around here then?
We don't. We just give it away. If I sell it, it's not a hobby anymore. It's a business. So we just give it away. Okay. Thank you.